Hello everyone, and thanks a lot for joining today our webinar. Today is a very special one actually, because we're introducing a new feature into VirusTotal, which we call BT alerts. The reason why we're doing that is because this is one of the most demanded, let's say, use cases by our customers, where they want to make sure that their infrastructure is not being used in malicious attacks, that their brands are not being abused by attackers, etc. So we decided to put everything together, make it nice, make it easier to interact with, and just put all your data, get everything being monitored immediately. And today we have Tomas Pica, who is the creator of this and will show us how it works. Remember, at the end of this session, we will have a Q&A. We will reply all your questions. So please, during the webinar, feel free to write them down. And at the end, we will try to solve as many as possible. So without further delay, I will leave you with Tomas, who will show us how BT alerts looks like.
Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. My name is Tomas and I'm a software engineer working in BT Alerts. BT Alerts is a new product that's aimed at keeping a 360 degrees view into your assets and brands. In this webinar I explain the motivation for this product, we'll go through configuration and details, and we'll also have a look at a demo to find out some interesting use cases if we are lucky. As you already know, VirusTotal crowdsources intelligence is composed of many moving parts. So far, we have over 75 AV vendors, 16 sandboxes, 81 denial list providers, and almost 2 million monthly users. With all these parts in motion, we are able to keep tabs on almost everything that happens to your assets. Common questions that users are asking VirusTotal are: was one of your domains hijacked to deploy malware? Is an IP in your IP ranges the resolution to a malicious URL? How to keep track of URLs that try to phish your users? Those questions and many more are not new to anyone. In fact, we've detected users already trying to fulfill these use cases, mainly using VT intelligence search modifiers, but also in some cases using VT hunting like live hunt and retro hunt, by writing specific Yara rules for that. The problem with that approach is that it's time-consuming, as you want to search for that every hour, day or week, be it manually or programmatically through the API. And of course, you'll want to do this process for every domain, asset, or brand that you want to keep track of. So a question we asked ourselves in VirusTotal was, what if we could watch for new submissions and changes as they happen in VirusTotal? This is the reason we created VT Alerts. With VT Alerts, we want to give you the power of filtering through the whole VirusTotal pipeline and be able to have a broken down timeline that covers all your assets, with a notification for each special event. In VT Alerts, we have divided watchlists in three types: domain watchlists, watchlists for IP ranges, and brand watchlists. Each of these types provides different type of filtering methods under the hood and generate different notifications based on distinct entity types. In the first type of network infrastructure watchlists, we find domain watchlists. Creating a domain watchlist will configure your alerts to generate notifications for suspicious activity related to your domain, subdomains, and URLs under those. Not only will this generate notifications for URLs, it will also notify you if malicious files are served on those properties, or if malware contacts or refers to any of your domains or subdomains in any way. The second type of network infrastructure watchlists are IP range watchlists. With an IP range watchlist, we give you the option to be alerted when any IP in the range is involved in any suspicious activity. For example, if the IP is hosting malware or is being used in a command and control operation. We'll also, if present, provide you the URL resolving to the IP in question, as well as the hashes for the files, if any, so you can continue your investigation. The third type of watchlist is not intended to monitor network infrastructure, but your brand properties. In VT-Alerts, you set up your brand with a combination of a list of domains and a list of strings and sentences. We will add more brand attributes in the future, but with just these two sets, we are already able to cover very interesting use cases, as you will see soon. Firstly, we use the list of domains to extract relevant favicons present and to create an allow list that will prevent a brand notification to be created if it's already coming from your brand domains. We do this because what we want to uncover with brand watchlists are other people's network infrastructure that's copying your brand. Once everything is set in the system, VT-Alerts will start sifting through all data coming through VirusTotal. This means that if during the processing of any submission to VirusTotal, if any of the properties or metadata found in the entity submitted or in any relationship to another entity matches any of the watchlist's use cases, VT-Alerts will generate a notification for you. We'll deep dive into the notifications next. But first, let me clarify two things. The first thing I want to clarify is that watchlists are private to you. We will not show or use the watchlist you created anywhere else in VirusTotal. Second, VirusTotal won't crawl, visit, or reach out to any of the network properties you add in the watchlist. Because as we mentioned just before, our source of information is the submissions and all the data generated and processed during VirusTotal's normal way of working with them. So now let's see what a notification is composed of before we jump into some interesting use cases. Each notification is composed of several properties, and in the web interface we show them as follows. First, we have the creation timestamp. As you expect, this is the time when we saw something suspicious, so a notification was created for you. Second, we have an icon for the severity. We have 4 severity levels to categorize the notifications with. In this case, we've considered this notification to be of high severity. Third, we have the detection category. We have several types of detection categories, but in particular this one is file communicating with a domain, which covers any files that we found trying to communicate with any one of your domains. And last but not least, we have a human readable description of the notification. In this case, because a file is involved in notification, we show its hash, the file type, the name, the aggregated verdict count, and the domain it tried to contact. Everything involved is clickable straight away from each row, allowing you to continue your investigation in VirusTotal seamlessly. For example, if we click on that hash, we are taken to the VirusTotal page of the hash. If we travel to the Relations tab, we see it's contacting 2 domains. And if you click on its relations, you can see in VT-Graph that indeed it tried to contact a domain from your watchlist. In this case of the example, VirusTotal.com. As you can see, the notification serves as a starting point to the rest of your investigation. This was an example of a file contacting domain notification, but let me show you now how other types of notifications may look like. In this case, we have a file downloaded from URL notification. The URL belongs to a domain that we created a watchlist for. And again, because the target of the notification is a potentially malicious file, we present hash, file type, and name, as well as the exact URL that was used to download the file. When we click on the hash, we can continue our investigation in VirusTotal. Now, let me walk you through a live example of how to start with VirusTotal creating your first 3 watch lists. First, you may want to go to the Watchlist tab here. So you can see I already created a few of them, but I'm going to create a new one. For example, test.com. For IPs, I can enter any IP range as a watchlist input. Let me create an IP range watchlist for this IP range. For brand, we can create a watchlist with any list of domains you want that belongs to your brand, and with any of the sentences that are very specific to your brand. And we'll have it created. Now, it will take some time probably for notifications to be shown on your feed. In this case of my group, I've already created a watch list beforehand, so I already have a ton of notifications to show you. And we'll try to filter through this notification feed to find some interesting cases. For example, at the top, you can see all the use cases we have in VirusTotal alerts. These are the use cases we found most being used in VT intelligence searches and in live hand and retro hand searches. With this filter on the right hand, you can also filter through any notifications you may want to narrow down or to just clear out any false positives you may see. In this case, I'm just going to go through any detection category that I think is interesting for this demo. So for example, let me start with any simple ones like detected URLs. In this case, we have just narrowed down this to this category, and we have a few examples of what the detected URLs notifications are like. These are very, very similar to what we saw before in the presentation. Let's see if we have any interesting typo squatting alerts. As you can see, we narrowed down by this detection category again, and we see some notifications that may belong to the potentially typo squatting category. In this case, it's up to you to decide what's going on, but we try to filter this also by severity, so you can try to narrow down yourself what's a real typo squatting or what's not. Keep posted for the next typo squatting capabilities of VT alerts. We will be adding more soon. Just to finish this demo, I want to show you all the types of filters that may be interesting. Let's see any patterns found in raw binary bodies. This is a type of notification where we saw a file containing a string that belongs to your domains or IP ranges or anything like that. And it could be interesting to keep in track. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. I hope VT Alerts is going to be a useful tool to add to your arsenal of tools. And keep in touch because we will be adding more features very soon. Thank you.